Hey everyone, it's your host Felicia Dortch for Relationship Entertainment TV. Happy Thursday. The week is almost over, guys. Hang in there. So I wanted to talk today again about the election, but I think something else is a little more important than that right now. And some of the things that I've been seeing on the news is the speak of another wave of coronavirus. And the reason, of course, you understand the reason why I say that's a little more important, because that's actually taking lives. I think the problem that we're having is people are becoming a little too laxed, and you know how I tell my stories and I speak on these broadcasts. I always use myself as an example. I'm not exempt. I have allowed my children to go to their troop activities. Some of them noticeably have masks and some of them don't. Sometimes my children have it on, sometimes they don't. Our place of worship now allows us to go to in-person worship, and I have been going, and I have to honestly say I do wear my mask in the entire time that I'm in there. So, and they also, separate us in between the rows. So my point is, I'm trying to say that I'm still continuing to take active steps. But I have to say I have been a little laxed about it, except for the places where it's mandatory to wear a mask. You can't go in a grocery store without a mask. Most gas stations you can't go in without a mask. So it's more so just paying attention to your environment and what's going on. But more so, the difficulty is the symptoms. Here's the problem, and I've mentioned this before. We're coming upon flu season. And in one of my videos, I encouraged everyone to go out and get their flu shots, and I explained why that was important, and I explained the purpose of it. But I'll give you an example because, I talk through stories. Both my kids, my twins, were sick with the seasonal symptoms, the runny nose, stuffy nose, sore throat. And my son, he actually plays football, so he's been around people. We go to the football games and we sit kind of off. They have everyone separated. And honestly, we don't sit there with a mask on the whole time. So it opens us up to be exposed to flu and everything else floating in the air along with coronavirus. Because again, you got to remember the CDC is bouncing between airborne, droplet precaution, which I explained to you in the other video that pretty much you still can catch it going up your nose, whether it be a droplet or if it's airborne. So that's why that mask is really important. But I took them to the doctor. I was kind of thinking more of a viral type of thing. I really didn't even think about it being coronavirus. And I know you're probably sitting on the edge of your seat waiting on me to say that they were positive for corona, but they wouldn't. One of them was positive for strep and the other one was a viral cold. But what if? So thinking about that and them having to go through those horrible nasal swabs and throat swabs and every kind of swab, it could have went that way. They could have called me and said, oh, they're positive for coronavirus. And that would have been a totally different story. So that made me realize that I need to get back onto pushing the wearing the mask and not having my children out everywhere and allowing them to go many places and not sure if they have a mask on or not. For example, my son, before he got sick, he had went to a friend's house. And I took for granted that I know these people. I know they don't go anywhere. They pretty much have the same values that I have. And they took this just as serious as I did. But then who else are they around? Just because they're not leaving their house, has anyone been at their house? And I don't have those answers to that question. So I took a chance. And what you don't want to do is take a chance with your family. You don't want to. I know the kids are bored. They're tired of being in the house. They're pretty much over me by now. I'm sure they would like to see someone else their age, but you can't play Russian roulette with your children or yourself. So when I was watching the news and just kind of getting some things in my mind about what I wanted to talk to you about, it kept bringing up about the second wave, a possible second wave. So one of the questions is, because people are becoming so lax, are we out of the first wave? And according to Johns Hopkins Media Online, we are still in the first wave of the pandemic. Okay. The spread of coronavirus so far has been more like a patchwork quilt than a wave. So it's affecting different areas in little pockets. Harris County, which is here in Houston, Texas, where I live, it's pretty bad. But the way they judge it to say it's severe is if our hospitals are overcrowded. And right now, our positivity rate, if I'm not mistaken, is at 5%, which is the goal that they wanted to reach. However, we have people that are afraid to go to the hospital. So that's another thing I mentioned before in a couple of videos back, that the reason why these counts are not accurate is because people are not going to the hospital. They're scared to go to the hospital. And a lot of them are taking for granted that, oh, that's just a cold, that'll go away. And just to refresh your memory, everybody exposed to it, they have something different that happens. I had one cousin that had difficulty breathing. I had another cousin that's never had blood pressure issues, and she's under 30. Well, actually, she's under 40. Let me say that. She's less than 35. She had severe high blood pressure, has never had that issue before. She told me it felt like her heart was pounding out of her chest. Then I had another cousin that had it, and again, mentioned difficulty breathing, felt like she had boxes sitting on her chest. Knew somebody else that didn't have a symptom at all, just happened to be tested because they felt like they should go get tested, and found out they had coronavirus. And then I know people that have had family members that have actually died from it. So it's difficult nowadays to determine if you have the flu, if you have corona, if you have a virus. So you almost have to go to the doctor for every symptom that you may have. Even seasonal allergies you would think is a seasonal allergy, and come to find out you're actually positive for coronavirus. So some cities and towns experience severe outbreaks, appear to be recovering. Other places that have not had many cases, such as I have a friend that lives in Curacao. They're literally just now getting a high count. So what Curacao did, which is outside of Aruba, they completely locked down the whole little place. You couldn't fly in, no one can fly in there, no one can fly out. The minute they relaxed that stipulation, their counts went up. Now I believe there are over 80 people on the island that have coronavirus. So clearly someone has flown in, because mind you, they were completely shut down. No one could go in or out. So to me, it's gonna end up being to get to another shutdown is what I'm trying to say. Because it's going to be difficult for people to really ascertain if they have the flu or coronavirus or seasonal allergies or a viral cold. So that's one of the things that I'm really concerned about is the second waves. So things are reopening. I've passed by several restaurants where people are sitting outside. They have no mask. Again, CDC says it's droplet precaution, airborne precaution. Either way it go, you're still at risk. And now the schools are opened up. Majority of the schools here in Texas have opened up for in-person learning. They still give the families an option to do the online. But at this point, I believe parents are kind of over it, and the kids are stressed out and they want to be around their friends. One of my family members called me because her daughter was to the point of depression. She lacked that social interaction, and she literally was going into a depression. So I talked to her about the precautions and how to educate her daughter. And, I even offered for her to speak with a counselor, but she ultimately decided to let her daughter go back to school. So some of the schools here in Houston are actually now going to be shut down again because they've had too many cases to spike with the children being in school. It's very difficult to have a place like school where some kids, that's where they get the most social interaction, to tell them you can't linger in the hallways, you can't talk to your friends, you can't hug your friends, you can't sit close to your friends. They're going to figure out a way to do that. Kids don't think about the severity of what's going on right now. They're right in each other's face, talking and inhaling each other's breath and taking on in the coronavirus if they're positive with it. So one of the things that I heard on Dr. Oz show today, he was talking about they're trying to do some tracing, trying to see where the pockets are, really pushing the testing. And the funny thing is, you don't hear as much about the testing on the news as you did before, because of course we have the election that's overshadowing everything right now. We have everyone trying to get out and vote. They're pushing to vote. And then every now and then you hear a little bit about coronavirus and what the numbers are. And to be quite honest with you, my expectation each day when I watch the news is to see at least a whole segment about it and what we need to do to prepare. The funny thing about it is I happened to be watching the news and was about to turn it when Dr. Oz got on there and said that he is expecting a second wave. And he slid in there the fact that we need to start preparing now. And it's so funny because you would think that would make national news to hear him say in these words, prepare now. So we're not rushing out and people are hoarding toilet paper and water and wipes and Lysol. I literally just saw a can of Lysol the other day and it was a miracle. That's like gold. If you go on Amazon right now, the same Lysol can that you pay $3 for, they're selling them for $60 a can. So people are monopolizing off of coronavirus. And then here we have this major authority figure on television just casually saying that he is expecting a second wave and that we need to prepare. And I'm so happy that I was listening to that segment because I literally was about to turn it to, in all honesty, I'm over the talk about the election and them jabbing each other. So I wanted to see something else. And I do enjoy Dr. Oz, so I wanted to hear what he had to say. So I'm encouraging you to, if you have not been tested for coronavirus, please go get tested. If you have had coronavirus, the big question now is, can you get it again? Well, let's not play and try to find out. Be careful, continue to wash your hands. That's really something that you shouldn't have to tell people to do. But make sure you're washing your hands, wipe down your surfaces at home, the things that you touch often. If you are working outside of the home and you come inside, immediately wash your hands, go wipe down the inside of your vehicle, change your clothing. I would treat it the same way as when I worked at the hospital. When I would come home from working a shift, I would change in the garage because I didn't want to bring anything into my home or, to my children. So just make sure you continue to wear your mask, even if everybody around you don't have a mask. Think of it as you're protecting yourself. Because if you're out and about with people and then you come home and you're in your family's face, then you're exposing them. I went to New York over the weekend, 2 weekends ago for business, and we wore a mask everywhere. And then even when I came home and took my daughter to a troop event, I sat the entire event with a mask on. Because I wanted to make sure that I was protecting everybody else as well as protecting myself. So thank you for tuning in to my show. And this is Felicia Dortch with the news you can use and the issue you don't want to miss. I'll see you next time, guys.